Welcome back to The Real Dish. Hey, if you listened to last week's episode, you heard me share something deeply personal. My decision to start hormone replacement therapy after years of struggling, white knuckling my way through menopause, and ultimately realizing that support isn't weakness. But today's conversation goes even deeper because while hormones were part of the story, they weren't the whole story. The truth is, what I've been experiencing over the last few years isn't just a physical transformation, it's an identity transformation. And I think that's the midlife reinvention nobody really wants to talk about. Everyone picks a lane. Some people are talking about losing weight and getting on a GLP and a peptide or doing something to lose weight. And then others are talking about changing careers and what you do to find that new thing that sparks you. And some are talking about starting over and getting divorced and becoming empty nesters or moving across the country or traveling the world. But very few people talk about the moment when you look in the mirror and realize you're no longer the person you've always known yourself to be. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe that's the invitation. And so in this episode, we're really going to dive into what that means for you. Welcome to The Real Dish Show, the place where we peel back the onion on your fabulously fit life. I'm Chef Mareya, the fit foodie. And with over 30 years of experience in the health and wellness world, I'm here to guide you on this journey to uncover the keys to living a vibrant, balanced life. Whether you're seeking practical tips for nutrition, fitness, mental well-being, or simply craving insightful conversations with experts in the field, you've come to the right place. Now get ready to embark on a holistic adventure toward a healthier, happier you and make shift happen for good. Everybody's gone through a different life, right? I mean, that goes without saying, duh. But in order to take this next step, I think we have to really step back and evaluate where we've been and where we want to go and how do we want to get there in this phase of life, in this new era. Because we spend our lives really becoming someone. I mean, think about it. Most of our lives are spent building an identity. We're the good daughter, the responsible one, the wife, the mom, the entrepreneur, the provider, the caretaker, the achiever, the great, the person that everyone counts on. Maybe you were a great athlete. Maybe you were an amazing student. Maybe you were the CEO of a company. Maybe you were a stay at home mom who juggled everything. I mean, for me, I built an entire life around being capable. And if there was a challenge, I figured it out. I was the figure outerer, you know, type A through to the core in every aspect of my life. If there was a problem, I solved it. Yo, if there was a problem, I solved it. That bar from Vanilla Ice, you know what I'm talking about? If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Come on. You're singing that with me now. I know you are. But if there was a setback, I worked harder. And as a single mom building a business, there really wasn't another option. I didn't have an escape route. So I couldn't afford, quite literally, to fall apart and quit or wait until I felt ready. So I became incredibly resilient. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Sometimes the very traits that helped you survive one chapter become the traits that hold you back in the next. And that can be a trap. So I think reinvention oftentimes can feel like a trap. I think many of us approach it the same way we would approach a diet. We think, okay, tell me what to do. Give me the plan. Where's my meal prep plan? Give me the checklist of what I need to grocery shop for. What are the steps? But what I'm finding, and so many women in my circle are finding, is that real reinvention doesn't happen that way. I mean, nobody can give you a game plan because it's not really adding just one more thing or checking another thing off your list. Oftentimes it's shedding something. And that's really uncomfortable, especially when you've built your life around that. The identity, we're so identity focused. So we're not just changing habits. In a way, we're changing a whole belief structure about ourselves, about our, immediate environment, how we're going to really kind of rise up is that we have to change that story, that belief that's set that we are identified by a certain characteristic or a certain set of accomplishments in our lives. So it's really so much of this is about changing the way we see ourselves. And very often that's terrifying because we've lived with that identity in many cases for decades, maybe even our whole lives. So even if our current identity isn't serving us anymore, it's familiar. And humans, we love familiar. We do not like change, especially in this phase of life. We get set in our ways, we get set in the story. And I know for me that I have always been in the food industry. I've always had a career somehow affiliated with food, whether I was cooking it or promoting it or marketing it or advertising with it or PRing it. Like I've touched food on so many different aspects. And food is what I know. Food is visceral for me and I love it. I love having my hands in it. I love writing it about it. I love, just the art of making food. I love talking about it. Food is amazing, but I'm realizing that there is another part of me that's just very interested in unlocking, curiosity and adventure and doing things that I didn't get to do in my early life because I was so busy building a career and a family that I didn't really have time to explore those things in myself. So, I mentioned in the last episode that I've been thinking about Madonna. Okay, not in a weird way, really in a more reflective, like, how has this woman had basically a 5-decade career? And if you saw her appearance at Coachella with Sabrina Carpenter, it wasn't really what struck me as like an incredible performance. I mean, it was really good, but it was the conversation afterwards on social media. People were debating whether she should still be relevant and whether she should still be visible and whether she should still be reinventing herself. And I thought, well, interesting because nobody asks men those questions. Nobody tells men there's an expiration date on relevance. I mean, just look at Brad Pitt. You look at George Clooney. I mean, they're still as popular as ever. Nobody tells men that they should quietly fade into the background. But women, oh, the moment we change, people get uncomfortable. And the moment we evolve, well, people have opinions. And the moment we refuse to disappear, well, somebody is going to call it desperate. I mean, the stuff that I saw people saying about her in her various outfits, which, look, Madonna's in her 60s. That woman works and she looks incredible. I mean, she has earned that body. I know she is very disciplined in her workouts and her approach to eating and her lifestyle. And if she wants to wear what she's wearing, I say, good for you. But women, we're just as bad. I mean, we will call other women out and we will make them feel horrible about their decisions. So, I mean, I think we all need to take a look for a second and figure out why we feel threatened by this. I didn't see any desperation. I saw reinvention again by a woman who's made a career out of it. I mean, she has been in the spotlight for most of my life. And while I don't necessarily agree with everything Madonna's ever done, I really deeply respect her because reinvention requires an incredible amount of courage to stay authentic and true to yourself while still being creative and unique. I mean, I don't think anybody has done it better than her. So when people expect you to stay exactly the same and you listen to that, I mean, what's the fun in that? Where is the courageousness? Where is the innovation? I mean, then we're just walking around like a bunch of cookie cutters. So I say for the naysayers, or even worse, the women who criticized her, why would you want to do that when there very well may come a time where you are in the same position? And we have to think about how we would want other people to see that rather than criticizing or making, jabs about how she looks or what she should or shouldn't be wearing. Why don't we celebrate that and say, good for her? Good for her. Maybe I wouldn't do it, but good for her. And that is the kind of mindset I want us to explore for ourselves, because sometimes your old self just stops working. It's like the alarm clock that you used to have. Remember, before we had phones, we had actual alarm clocks, and we'd have to set the clock and set the timer to wake us up in the morning. I can't tell you how many times that darn timer did not go off. Was it user error? Probably. But I was convinced that the clock wasn't working. But here's what happens. For years, my formula worked, and I'd work hard, I'd stay positive, I'd pray through it, I'd push through it, I'd figure it out, and I'd just keep moving. And then suddenly it didn't, suddenly. I'm not saying, let me be very clear. I'm not saying that prayer doesn't work, because it does. But I am saying that my body changed, and I'm saying my energy changed, and my stress tolerance changed. And no matter how hard I worked, I couldn't force myself back into the version of me that existed 10 years ago, when I would grind all night on a project. I would, just bust around the clock and work myself into a delirium at the gym and barely eat anything. Like, I could not do that anymore. No more. My body would just shut down. My brain shut down. Like, talk about cortisol overload. I mean, just nothing. No productivity whatsoever. And so as I kept trying and thought that maybe I just needed more discipline or another certification, which I did, or another supplement, which I did many, or another workout, again, did many, productivity hacks up the wazoo, I realized something, that I wasn't actually going to get anywhere with that until I evaluated what I was really after. My point being, I think at some point we have to just stop saying, I am chasing the dollar. And we have to start saying, I am chasing the purpose. The paper versus the purpose is a very different perspective. Because when you're chasing paper, and that is just slang for money, for those of you who didn't know, because for the longest time I had no idea what that meant actually. Chasing paper is just not necessarily chasing anything that feels good for your soul anymore. I think you get to a point in life where it's not just about the dollar. It's about what am I doing to make things better around me? What am I doing for my legacy, for the next generation, to improve the things that I touch? And that felt like a very different thing, which required really not just adding another list in, but kind of remodeling the house quite a bit, if you know what I mean. So, in this season, since I filmed Next Level Chef back in September and basically had a nervous breakdown, I have taken some time off and done quite a bit of traveling and done quite a bit of introspection and quite a bit of writing and just remodeling, getting rid of old beliefs that don't serve me anymore. Trying to break down cycles of habits that don't serve me anymore, trying to speak better to myself, and rather than blaming myself for things that didn't go right, to try and really honor that all things are working out for my good. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need to just take a beat. I don't think we can always work through things. I think sometimes our bodies and our minds just need to evaluate. And doing that requires us to just stop for a minute. Okay, when it comes to cooking and doing it in a way that is healthy for your fit life, there's a few things that we have to keep in mind. Number one, is it functional? Number two, is it clean? Meaning, does it contain any of those yucky coatings that they add to cookware nowadays, especially the nonstick kind? We don't need that. We don't want that. And number three, is it pretty? Because hey, if it's aesthetic, it's going to make us feel pretty good when we cook on it. And that's why I am totally digging Hexclad cookware. Talk about the most gorgeous cookware you will ever use. Plus, it's totally functional and healthy to use. Hexclad's patented hybrid cookware brings performance of the stainless steel, the durability of cast iron, and the convenience of nonstick all in one. That, my friends, is Michelin level standards with cleanup convenience, because when we're cooking at home, we don't want to be scrubbing dishes all day long either. So now you can unleash your potential in the kitchen without any limits. What I love about it, that nonstick hybrid technology coupled with excellent temperature control. You've got to be able to temper your temperature to get that great sear and to do the nice poaches. Easy care, so it's going to clean up easy, and easy cleaning. All of that with the additional benefit of being free from toxic coatings and having a lifetime warranty. This is the cookware you're going to use for life, my friends. So it's time to take a little assessment of the cookware that you have. If you have your hand-me-down Teflon cookware, it's time to throw it out and invest in a nice new set. And Hexclad is going to deliver on its promise with that lifetime warranty. I can't recommend it enough. I'm totally infatuated with mine. Can I say that? Infatuated? And I know you're going to be too. So make sure you head over to hexclad.com/Chef Mareya, and you'll get up to 30% off your new cookware. Start the year off right and cook with delight. How about that for a rhyme? No, seriously though. Use my code Chef Mareya at hexclad.com. That's HEXCLAD.com. And you'll get up to 30% off your purchase. You will not be disappointed. And this is where I really want us to dive in and be honest with ourselves. Is your worth tied to your performance? Because it was for me. If I wasn't performing, then was I really worthy of any sort of good things in my life? I mean, I think this is where so many women get stuck. We spend decades proving ourselves and climbing the ladder of our careers and our, our professional lives, our personal lives, having families, finding the right relationships. And we spend decades proving ourselves, proving we're capable and valuable and we're enough. And over time, our identity becomes intertwined with our performance. So, what happens when you can't perform the same way anymore? What happens to you when your energy changes, when your body changes, and when your priorities change? Who are you then? You may have been questioning, who am I right now in this season? And I think that's one reason why my experience on season 5 of Next Level Chef hit me so hard. Yes, it was a competition, but underneath that, it challenged my identity and who I was, because suddenly I was not the most capable one, the confident one, the expert that people have come to for literally 2 decades. I was really vulnerable and I hated it. I'll be honest. Maybe that's my ego talking, but that's okay. This is a little bit of therapy for me too. I hated that I was not the confident one and the capable one and the expert. And, a lot of people would say, well, just brush it off and move on. And in many cases, I probably would have. And trust me, there have been many career highs and lows where I've had to dust myself off and jump back in to the kitchen. But this felt different. This felt like, wait a second, am I really on the path that I want to be on right now? And so it could be an opportunity to start asking yourself this. And change, that directional change that you take, it doesn't have to be a full 180. It can be a pivot that still incorporates what you know, what you're good at, what you're experienced at, but with a different message. And that is what I'm taking into this season. So, this lesson therapy, and I did go through therapy as I was recovering from all of this for 6 months after I filmed the show. I'm just kind of coming out of it, to be honest. But one of the biggest lessons I learned in therapy was this: that your value does not increase when you succeed, and it does not decrease when you fail. I'll say that again. Your value does not increase when you succeed, and it does not decrease when you fail. I know that sounds obvious, but many of us don't actually live like we believe it. We live as though our worth is tied to our productivity, our appearance, our achievements, our titles, our accomplishments, and I'm going to say it, our youth. Youth is very valued. A lot of women I know hit a certain age and they weren't getting hired for jobs, okay? Fully qualified, mind you. But if you think ageism doesn't exist, think again. So, midlife has a way of stripping all of that down. And in order to pick yourself back up again, you have to change, I believe, what you feel about yourself and your worth and what it's tied to. I am a believer. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that God created us in his image and that we were created to be loved unconditionally. And if there's any identity that I will take with me for the rest of my life into eternity, it's that I am just loved because of who I am, who I was created to be. And boy, is that a warm blanket to wrap yourself up into. But what doesn't matter. This is not, this is not anything but me sharing, but I'm just saying, whatever you believe in, know that your worth is not tied to other people's opinions and to your accomplishments. So, what if we saw that as a gift of midlife? What if, what if we just allowed these truths to sink in? That midlife isn't a crisis, that it's an audit. It's an opportunity to reevaluate and listen and see what life is asking. What's working? What's not? What are you carrying that no longer belongs to you? What are you pretending to want? Who are you still trying to impress? Whose approval are you still chasing? What dream has been sitting quietly on the shelf waiting for you to finally pick it up? I would go back and just write these questions down, honestly, grab them from the show notes and make it your homework assignment tonight to go through this, because I think it's a really valuable audit that, truthfully, we should probably be asking ourselves in more than one phase of life. But if you gotten to this point and it's like the Talking Heads, that song, you know, where is my beautiful house? Where is my beautiful wife? How did I get here? And the days go by and the water pulls me up. It's the same. It is that feeling. It's like one day you wake up and you're like, this is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife or husband or career or existence. So when you ask these questions to yourself, you might start to realize what you need to shed and how you might want to reinvent yourself. They're uncomfortable questions, but they're powerful. So what I'm reinventing now is, at 57, I'm truthfully realizing my life isn't shrinking. I have to say that again for myself. At 57, I'm realizing my life isn't shrinking. I have to believe that. I have to believe that it's expanding and that I am talking more about wellness than ever before, and I'm living it. And I'm leaning into creative endeavors and travel. This year I picked up the tabla. It's an Egyptian drum. It's very typical in our culture. I've wanted to learn how to play it forever. And I bought a drum for myself for my birthday in January. It's really beautiful. It's all encrusted with like mother of pearl, and it's this gorgeous ceramic drum, and I love the way it sounds. And I started taking lessons. I go to lessons every week and meet up with other like-minded women that play the tabla from all different cultures, and it's amazing. I love it. I also have really been into picking up the creative things that I used to love, like painting and, um, you know, collages and things like that. I love that I love working with my hands. And even with exercise, my son, I was telling my son that I really wanted to scooter with him. When he was younger, we used to scooter together, like a little razor scooter. And my Mother's Day gift this year was a razor scooter. And he's like, Mom, I want you to be able to scooter. And so I've been scootering, and people might look at me and think I'm crazy, but I enjoy it. I love it. And I don't really care what other people think. So do the things that you love, not because anybody's watching, but because they bring you joy. I'm leaning into travel more than ever before and exploring the world. And man, that's addictive. That's a great addiction. I love to travel. I love to see the off the beaten paths. And this year alone, we did the Camino de Santiago for 5 days. We walked the coastal route from Portugal. We, you know, spent a month in Portugal and saw so many things. We spent time in Costa Rica. I mean, we are like literally nomads. So that's been great. And I'm evolving beyond food, beyond recipes, not because I don't love it. I always will. Food is connection, it's culture, it's joy. But I'm realizing what I've really been teaching all along isn't how to eat. As I look back on the posts I've written and the content I've created, it's really a reflection of life, how to live, how to stay curious, and how to stay engaged, and how to keep growing, and how to take a big bite out of the ass of life. Did you see the movie Big Night? Okay. You have to go on my Instagram and look at that reel. And the little cover is me standing in front of a refrigerator, and it says something about, are you eating enough kind of thing, right? It's not from a needle, a pill, or a prescription. My favorite biohack for managing pain, helping gut health, managing mood, energizing my body from head to toe, and the perfect glow up is red light and infrared therapy. I cannot tell you enough about how much I love it. And my go-to is Loombox. It's a portable red light and infrared therapy box. And it's so portable, you can take it with you. I travel with it everywhere. It is literally indispensable. And just 10 to 12 minutes a day is really all you need. I've seen a huge difference in my complexion. It helps with fine lines and with skin clarity, and has helped a lot of people that have skin issues. So if you have eczema or psoriasis, it's something that you want to take a look at. It's also tested by NASA. So there's a lot of data and science. It's not just one of these things where people are like, oh yeah, it works, or, I don't know. It's actually proven with multiple hundreds of scientific papers. And what I love about Loombox is it's so much more powerful than other light therapy type boxes or solutions. And you are going to get the most mileage out of this because it's something that you can use for so many different things. Managing pain. I mean, when I was recovering from my torn ACL and now my latest accident with my dog running into me full speed, all 75 pounds of him into my knees, it's something that I use all the time. I also use it to manage pain and inflammation after my workouts. And basically, it's my therapy every single day, especially during the long winter months where we don't get that much sunlight. You got to try it. That's all I'm going to say. I can't recommend it enough. And you can get up to $250 off of Loombox with my code Chef Mareya. You'll just go to the Loombox, that's the LUMEBOX.com/Chef Mareya, or just go to the loombox.com and use Chef Mareya at checkout for your discount. I'm telling you, it is the investment that will pay back in dividends for your health. I love it. There's a scene in this movie called Big Night. It came out in 1996, so it's 30 years old now. And it stars Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub and Isabella Rossellini is in it too, who I love. And Minnie Driver, who I love too. And so this great cast. But I love this movie so much because it was one of the first movies that really talked about food as culture. And I studied in Italy, and so I have like that fond connection with Italian culture and cuisine. And the storyline is about these two brothers who come from Italy and they create a restaurant in the United States, and they're trying to be authentic and feed people authentic Italian food, but people are so used to like Americanized Italian. and they just don't get it. They don't get what they're trying to do, and the restaurant's really struggling. And I don't want to tell you the whole story because I want you to actually watch the movie, but they have a big night and it changes everything. So in the movie, one of the scenes is this character, and he, you don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy trying to sabotage them, but the scene is him telling Stanley Tucci's character that there is nothing called too much. You can never be too much. You can never be too much, because if you're not enough, then you're not really living. You're not really eating, as I like to say. And so it's never enough, he says. And you got to take a big bite out of the ass of life. That analogy just resonates with me so clearly, because I just imagine myself eating a peach. That's the big ass of life. So I want to ask you this. If you're listening today and you're feeling stuck, I want to leave you with this one question. Not what should I do next, but who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? Because the answer isn't always a new job or a new relationship or a new city or a new body or a new thing. Sometimes it's just simply giving yourself permission to become more fully you, more fully yourself. You, with all your quirks, with all your insecurities, with all your accomplishments, with all your passion and what makes you you. This midlife reinvention nobody talks about isn't changing your life. It's changing your relationship with you, with yourself. And it's realizing that you are allowed to evolve. You don't need anybody's permission to do that. You're allowed to outgrow old stories, and you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to need support, and you're allowed to start over if you want. But maybe most importantly, you're allowed to become someone new without apologizing to the people who preferred the old version of you. Let that sink in. Thank you for being here. If this episode resonated with you, would you send it to a friend who's navigating her own reinvention? Because you sharing this might just give her the gentle nudge that she needs. And I'd love to hear from you. What part of your life are you currently reinventing? Until next time, keep eating, keep growing, keep questioning, and keep becoming, because your next chapter may be your best one yet. I want that for you. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal health advice. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice, and the views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or the management. Hey, it's Chef Mareya, and thank you so much for tuning into The Real Dish. It means a lot to me that you're here. I hope today's episode has inspired you to take some proactive steps towards a healthier and happier you. Because just remember, bite-sized changes can lead to big transformations. But before you go, would you do me a big favor? If you found value in this episode, would you share it with 2 of your closest friends and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode? And if you really want to make this girl's day, would you leave a 5-star review? I do hear an angel gets its wings every time you do that. But really, this helps us spread the message of real life wellness to even more listeners. And everybody could use a healthy portion of that, right? Now, until next time, remember, you are the chef of your own kitchen. So feed your life well, make good decisions, prioritize your well-being, and remember, You need to take care of you because we only get one of you and you are a gift to everyone around you. So until next week, this is Chef Mareya signing off. And just remember, we're here to cook up a good time every single week. We'll see you soon.